Welcome back to the basement. And welcome to day 2 of hybrid in writing. Today we need to learn about a process that you're going to be running through each week, which is called peer editing. I mentioned it before in the introduction to the course when I went over the course calendar, but it's always been a tricky classroom activity to recreate online. It's going to be even trickier because how we practice it is now going to be with a video lesson instead of trying it in the classroom with each other, and then I have the confidence that I can send you home and have you do it at home without me. We're going to have to get that confidence here with what I'm about to show you. Okay, so let's take a look at first where peer editing shows up in each week's schedule. So the first place that we're going to head is we're going to head back to the course plan. You're going to peer edit in Windows. So everyone is going to get feedback on their outlines every week, and then they have a responsibility to turn that outline into a draft. And then that draft has to be done by a certain point so that your classmates can begin peer editing. And so that creates a window. So I'm going to highlight them. So here's our first window for our first week. This is a weird window because it's all in one day. That's because we are in the compressed part of the course. It'll get a little bit more relaxed. But by the time you have 2 drafts complete, one persuasive paper, one response to lit paper, at the end of this week, you'll choose one of those 2 to submit to your peer editing group, and they'll have the rest of that Friday to get done. And then we have the weekend off. So that's a weird window. The other windows are usually the last 3 days of the week, and they're a lot more consistent. So here is when your second persuasive paper rough draft is due, and that opens up a peer editing window from Wednesday night to Friday morning, right here, that 9 a.m. And then that allows your classmates to take the feedback they got, and their class day on that Friday becomes taking their rough draft and turning it to a final draft. Once the course gets into the practice part of the schedule, we just repeat that. The next week, rough drafts are due again by 5. This half hour is really just for me to check off that the rough drafts have come in time, and then I use Google Classroom to return them. And in that half hour, you'll share out with your group everybody's rough drafts, and then that window repeats from here to here, 5:30 Wednesday night to being done by Friday morning. So this rough draft has time to turn into a final draft. The last week, the final exam week, rough drafts are due around 12 noon, and then that's going to create space between that Wednesday afternoon, all day Thursday, and then the day of the final assessment being due, which is 5 o'clock on Friday night. So there's a day right here where if you have a good relationship, good rapport with your peer editing group, you might reach back out to them. You don't even necessarily have to use the log that you'll have to use for the rest of the course to show that you're doing the work, but it becomes optional in the last week. All right? So let's take a look at what you will be creating. This is the model peer editing group report that I will actually make available for you to read through, because it models the 3 steps and what sort of writing is expected to be put in each box. So you are assigned to a peer editing group. I did it mostly randomly in groups of 3, one group of 4 in this class. And so each of you have a row that is yours to pay attention to. All right, so this is a 4-person group. But it's not just your row that you write in, and likewise, you're not the only person that writes in your row. What this log does is it recreates a conversation. So before your peer editors can get started, you're going to ask them a question so that they go into reading your rough draft with a mission in mind. People are afraid to critique other people. I'm afraid to critique you. I don't want your feelings to be hurt. I want you to get better at writing, but I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. And so we get afraid of using critique to improve each other. What this causes is peer editing sequences sometimes goes like this. Can you look at my paper? Sure. Looks good. I really enjoyed it. You don't have to enjoy it. You don't have to make the person feel good about giving you a good time or not wasting your time with maybe even something that's a struggle to read. You need to find things that will honestly make them better, but you can't be mean either. You can't tell them that they're terrible at writing, because nobody's terrible at writing. Everybody is good at some part of writing, and everybody kind of knows the parts of writing that they want to get a little bit better at. And so if you ask a question about what you think you need help with, and then a peer responds to that question with an answer that maybe critiques your work but gives you an answer to that thing that you're wondering, your feelings aren't going to be hurt because you already expected to need help there, and then you get the help that you need to get better. So we don't just, and this is a good rule of thumb for every time you ask for a teacher to look at an assignment for your next 4 years or whatever years you have left of education, ask a question about what you think you need help, not does this look good? Because does this look good? That's a hard question to answer, because no one can answer, no, it looks terrible, without feeling like they're being mean to you. And even if they said, no, that looks terrible, then do you know what you need to fix? Right? Targeted questions create targeted feedback. A review of what I'm talking about is available in this presentation that is attached to the assignment that you found this morning, P.1, which means our first peer editing assignment. And it's got some nuts and bolts of the digital mechanics, but by now I'm not too worried about you knowing how to share Google Documents with each other. I'm more concerned with maybe looking over these examples of what targeted instruction and targeted feedback looks like. But I just went over that using the actual model. So this first column, you're responsible for. So in this case, Emma asked the rest of her groups feedback on those two questions. So she asked Delaney, Sydney, and Sam to answer these two questions when they went and looked at her work. And then who gets to those questions, it's a little bit first come, first serve, but everyone needs to participate on the document. So this one happens to be nice and neat and have only like one answer per question. But let me show you, I won't be attaching this because this is real student work from last year, not necessarily a model, but you can see it looks very similar. What I do to make sure that you're participating is I look in the version history, and when I open this up, and this was a copy, I wasn't expecting that, so it doesn't have the editing history, but in a document that's shared by 4 people, everybody gets a different color. And so I can see, like, Bella here would be in a certain color, Logan would be in a certain color, and when I click in here I should see an equal amount of all 4 colors to show that everyone went and found somebody's question to help with. And so you can see that this group went to the extent of, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 person group, and so when Abby asked the question, all 3 of the other girls in her group made sure that they gave their 2 cents, their feedback. Okay, so that's your job, is to make sure that you look at as many of these questions and help out where you can. I'll go back to the model. The last column, you take back over. This I right here, I will try to make my writing more confident right off the bat. That is Emma speaking, and she's saying that because she read this feedback and made a decision about what needs to be changed between her rough draft and her final draft. That actually also goes back to, does this look good? Yeah, it looks great. I enjoyed reading it. Okay, I guess I'll turn it in then. Right? How often do we feel that weird, okay, I guess I'll turn it in. I don't know how to make it any better. And then we can be surprised by feedback that we get from the instructor at the other end of that process, because I thought it was good. Nobody had any changes. It was good. I didn't know what else to do. It's a B-, it's a C+. How could it be so low? So this tells you to improve something. It's you talking to yourself and saying, I do need to work on my rough draft. I can't just turn it in and call it my final draft. There's still more editing and revising to do. Okay? So that is how you log your peer editing work. So a couple more nuts and bolts that you need to know of, and it is that you need to know what your peer editing groups are. And so here they are. But this is also going to be in Classroom. So I'm not just going to leave this up on the screen for you to like quickly write down. You can find it in Classroom. And then what you actually need to add into this assignment is a log for just your group. And so if you look at this one from last year, you can see that Tracy, Bella, Abby, Logan, peer editing group report. They just put that at the end. So they put all their first names. That's fine for our very small class. And then someone made sure to click share and share it with every other person in the group. And so I'll just throw random Tracy's in there, and maybe it's one of those Tracy's. And you can click especially for some students that are, if there's any of you who is new to the district, your 9-9 may not show up right away. So we do have a dummy 9-9 number that we can work with. So if I just type in a whole bunch of 9s, that no, it doesn't pick up. But you saw, for privacy reasons, I don't want to throw a bunch of ID numbers up there. If you start typing a 9-9 number, it should fill it in. It should catch it. So if you can't find someone by their name when sharing a document, ask them for their 995-996 ID number, and it will work. The other thing that you, of course, need to do is you actually need to share the work that you want someone to look at. Okay? So here's what I'm going to do this morning. As soon as you're done watching this, I need you to work on two things for our first hour block. We'll make sure to gather together in the meet when people start to complete this. Is first, there is also going to be an assignment, 2.2 persuasive number 1. I need you to quickly take your attendance when you shut down the video. That will look like this. Choose your name and then answer these questions. The rest of this, you'll see a thesis generator you can ignore. We'll work on it later, but this is a good place for you to check in with me, tell me that you're here, and that you are ready to move on to the persuasive unit when we're done practicing peer editing. The second thing that you need to do is you need to practice making a peer edit group report with your group. And what you're going to peer edit, since we have them, is you're going to peer edit your first ever paragraph. So the paragraph that is attached to this assignment right here, you're going to go ahead and unsubmit. You're going to pull back. What you'll see is after class starts tomorrow, I will change the deadline from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. so that if you pull it back, you aren't late, because you're going to pull it back, and then we're going to practice using these paragraphs, share them with the other members of your group, and then your group will need to talk to each other and make a peer edit group report. This is the easiest way to do that. So we are in P.1 right here. The easiest way to do that is attached here will be the completed model. File, make a copy. Say I'm Jack, Tyler, and Lana. Alright, so I change it from copy to this. And I will click OK. Once I have that new with our names on it, take all the middle text, and carefully, because you don't want to delete the outside, get rid of it. And then you can go in and put your own names in. Once that's done, go to share and start typing in the names of your group. Once that's done, ask questions to your group. For today, this paragraph is so small, you'll normally do 2 questions. Today, 1. It's for practice, fine. All right, normally you'll do 2. I don't know, it'll be probably hard to come up with 2 things that you want your peers to look at, but make it a targeted thing that you want help with. Okay? How this will likely work is the students who get done watching the video will be the ones that end up taking the lead. The methods of communicating with each other is, of course, you can use your Google emails. You can also, if you don't want to check your emails live, you can also go to the stream. I'll just go to a new tab here. And our stream should be set up that you also can write on the stream. So along with the assignment being posted, I'll have a feel free to ask questions, just post to the stream. Again, this is the sort of stuff that, here's the nuts and bolts of it. The first time we normally practice this, we're around round tables in the classroom, and people are using their mouths and their ears and looking at each other like, do you want to do it? All right, you do it for the rest of the class. And yesterday was an effective day because you got to know me quite a bit. You know, the lens is pouring into my basement, and you're seeing me and getting to know me a little bit, and I enjoyed getting a chance to ask you a few questions about you. But the thing that I really can't recreate is getting to know each other. And we went over that you're all from different pods, only 2 or 3 of you from each pod. So some of you are actually literally strangers to each other. Maybe you know each other from community sports teams, that sort of thing. But it's just going to require maybe a little digital bravery here. Reach out with email or chat a little on the stream, or as soon as 8 o'clock rolls around, I will open up the Meet link, and so there's chatting in there, of course, that you can do. It's just that I'll be there, but I can help facilitate that way. Okay? So let's do the short version of what you're doing once this video is done. Go take attendance. That's assignment 2.2. Start to work with your assigned peer edit group to peer edit your practice MLA format paragraph and create a peer editing group report and put it in assignment P.1. All right. I will be sitting in the Google Meet link and hoping to see you in about 45 minutes, and then we'll start talking about persuasive writing. Okay, enjoy collaborating.